Now, flooding has become a recurring challenge in Nigeria, often displacing thousands, destroying farmlands, and cutting off essential infrastructures. In its latest flood alert, the federal government has warned of possible devastation in 15 states, including Adamawa, Bauchi, Nasarawa, Kebbi, among others. Now, this comes as the National Emergency Management Agency said more than 140,000 people in 21 states have been affected by floods so far in 2025. While the agency says it's already working with state governments to prepare evacuation plans, stockpile relief materials, and deploy rescue teams, they are also appealing to residents to take early action, move to higher ground, and closely monitor official advisories. Now joining us good morning, thanks for joining us. But we'll begin with the flood story. You know, we've been hearing a lot of talks about it, and the government has been saying, you know, move to higher grounds, move to higher grounds. One will argue, where are these higher grounds? Are they giving these people higher grounds to move to, or they're just telling them to move to? Also, people are talking about the fact that, have we learned from the Mokwa flood? Have we learned from it? Do we keep talking, and at the end of the day, we do not see, you know, things that are being done, things that are being put in place to make sure that this does not happen again? But another thing that really, you know, beats me and what people are talking about is the government keeps saying move to higher ground, move to higher ground. But are they providing these higher grounds for the people?
I'm happy you are speaking from Lagos. The higher ground in Lagos, I will tell you. Ogudu is one of the highest area in Lagos.
Correct.
Magodo, your former station.
Correct. Another
Higher ground in Lagos. So maybe all Lagosians will now move to Ogudu and Magodo to avoid the devastating effect of flooding. Maybe that's what the government is saying. But on a lighter move.
Yeah.
This is a very serious situation. I will give you an instance of maybe an historical background of the devastating effect of flooding since 2010 in Nigeria. If you remember the flooding in 2012 and 2022, within a span of 10 years, that was when we have the most devastating flooding event. In 2012, the number of people displaced by flooding that time was about 7.7 million. And we recorded over 360-something deaths. Houses, millions of houses were destroyed, farmland destroyed. Then come to 2022, over 1.3 million people displaced, 100 of lives lost.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
2024, just last year, you remember the Alao Dam problem, the flooding aftermath of the destruction of the Alao Dam. 600,000 people were displaced, over 200 people dead recorded. Now, this year alone, you just gave us the statistics, the Mokwa example. In fact, one of the devastating effects of Mokwa own is that the infrastructure that were destroyed, rail line, the Nigerian Railway cannot operate that single track now. The legacy line, rail corridor that will be moving, that's supposed to be moving container from the south to the north. This year flooding has wreaked havoc on that rail line corridor between Mokwa and Jeba. Now, to restore that, why are we going to wait until this havoc is being wreaked? We now start looking at solution to it. Why don't we prevent it? So this is what I would just advise. Why I'm giving you all these statistics is just for the policymaker to know that the devastating effect is getting too much, and we need to do something.
Yes.
So though government is trying their best by giving early warning sign, prediction, yes, this is part of flood prevention measure that we need to put in place. But what of how to mitigate the effect of this flooding when it happens? Because flood is natural disaster. And every day we are building roads, every day we are building houses, we are reducing the space of where the natural soil can absorb the excess water.
Okay.
This is another thing we don't look into. Apart from throwing garbage on our drainage system, apart from building on our drainage system, apart from not adhering to building code, all these are factors that are bringing in this, including heavy rainfall. So, where do we go from here? That's the question I keep asking.
Yes, and it looks as if we all need some kind of mental revolution when it comes to this flood prevention thing. The government has its part to play, and the people have their part to play. Now, I am wondering why we are so reactive. Before the Mokwa incident, the Niger State government had some monies that was given to them for flood control or for ecological reasons. I know that we have ecological funds being distributed to states. How come state governments have not been held responsible for not using those funds the way they should?
I hope you know the operation of the Ecological Project Office. They are now Ecological Project Office. They are no more Ecological Fund Office. The reason for this is just to be an intervention fund. It's an intervention fund, but I think that office needs a surgical operation. They need to overhaul that office. Even though they disburse this money monthly, it goes along with monthly allocation for the state government. Who is monitoring what the state government use this money for? Who is monitoring it? What project are they using it for? Even the project, the federal government allocation part, allocated, the federal government part of the money of the ecological fund, the project they are carrying out in different states, who is monitoring it? Who is designing it? Of what measure is it being, what is being considered before they design this, the project for? But don't forget, ecological problem is not only flooding. There are so many areas of intervention that ecological funds could be channeled into. Waste management is there, erosion control is there, flooding is there. So all these state governments, I think what we should first do is to carry out post-impact assessment study of the flooding. By the time it recedes, let's carry out post-impact assessment study. Let's know which area need intervention of ecological fund. I'll give you an example of that Mokwa. The rail corridor, about 2 or 3 kilometers of the rail line, the single track rail corridor of Mokwa Jeba, is washed away already. So that's one prone area. This is to give us an insight that we need to carry out erosion, flood, and stability control assessment study of all our rail corridor system in our railway line. If not, more flood will erode most of this infrastructure that we have put in place. Again, there is a particular culvert in that Mokwa town that was totally destroyed. So the water is just flowing at its own, no channelization. So all this has to be put in place. Somebody has to now go into maybe drawing board back and see what are these state government or government, what are they using this ecological fund for? So that we cannot say the intervention of federal government is now being achieved by releasing the money to them. But if they are not using it the right way, I think the federal government should just concentrate in executing these projects by themselves. That is my own opinion.
That's right. So considering the discrepancies in flood predictions, we have, such as the initial April 2025 outlook warning of heavy rains in 30 states versus the latest August alert, which we're talking about, on 15 northern states. And if you look at historical data in 2022 precisely, where that of failures like the 2022 floods displaced 1.3 million persons, despite the warnings. So the criticisms leveled against the federal government as to underestimating risks in southern states like Bayelsa and Delta, where over 15 million persons are now deemed at high risk. Do you consider this as reactive rather than preventive, despite the fact that we always talk about this year in, year out?
You see, that's one of the reasons why I always say every year we come to the TV station to discuss about flooding, to tell them preventive measure. We wait after the flood, the rainy season has gone past, and the flood wreak havoc. The question you ask, what have they done? that the Bayelsa one that you are talking about, has anybody gone to check the shoreline, the between the sea and the urban settlement of Bayelsa? Do they need wave breaker? Do they need flood gauge? Who is doing something? Who is assessing the impact of the flood and how to control it? Remember Lekki Epe Express Road. The first time that road was that highway got flooded was in 2012. I was on TV. I was on your station and was advising that the drainage channel by the side of the highway is too small. The assimilative capacity of those drainage is too small to accommodate the quantum of water that is coming. Since that time, nobody has done anything. Nobody. So it's like nobody is paying any attention to whatever expert like us advise. So the Bayelsa on the Lagos creek and all the change in Lagos, drainage system in Lagos, when last did they deseal them? When last did they tame the river? We are still having urban flooding. Very soon we will continue. There will be coastal flooding. You know, we have three types of flooding: urban flooding, river flooding, and coastal flooding. Right. Presently, we are having flash flood, which is as a result of heavy rainfall. By the time we have high rise tide in the ocean, when the flood from the town cannot get to because of the high rise in the sea level, then we will have a backlash. Then we start having river flooding. Then the coastal flooding, we now have all those coastal areas in a low-lying area, we start getting flooded because the water will definitely find its way. So we should continue to start embarking the flood control and preventive measure, which include construction of dike, construction of the river desilting of rivers, and adhering to building code, then educating people, putting the right waste management system in place. All this culminates to flooding, and this is one way I always advise people to, people in government, to look for experts who will advise them. It's not just to be doing construction using Julius Berger, using this. Yeah, there are some people, different areas, different people have their own aspect of the job. Some people will do EIA, some people will do post-impact assessment study, and all this will go to flood control is different from just constructing a drainage system. Indeed. Indeed. So these are my own advice about what you just asked me.
And thank you very much for your kind advice. And we're always grateful each time we have you on the show to bring this kind of expert scientific advice in how to handle this. But NIMET is also there. First off, I want to ask you, sir, are you, of all your years of consulting in this, environment, are you working with the government? Do you have access to the real men and women who have the power to execute some of these things we're talking about? Because it's one thing really to come on television to talk about it. Do you have access to talk to them directly, where you go present data and statistics and probably show them some of the deeper scientific things they may not ordinarily be aware of? Do you have that? And then number two, if they have these kinds of degrading information about what flood does, how then do they use that to then approve building construction of roads, and so on and so that, from what you said earlier, we do not build along natural pathways of flood? And if we are to abide with those natural pathways, does it mean that we cannot now build or develop environments?
Thank you for that question. I have access to people in government. I told you I'm an environmental consultant. I work and I live on the environment, and I make money from the environment. That's my own professional area. This question you ask, I have done so many ecological and environmental projects for state government and federal government. My company constructed and rehabilitated the channelization of Asa River in Ilorin. It was funded by the Ecological Fund in 2012, 2013. And we tamed that river, we deseated that river, and we provided embankment. The river was very narrow. We widened it for about 40 meters. We did the retaining wall 4 meter height, 400 cm, and covered 2 kilometers on both ends. The wall is still there. That was the phase 1 that shows significant reduction in flooding in that area. Since that time, they've carried out about 2 or 3 periodic desilting, but in a very segmented way, which does not have any effect. But at least they've done something there. We've done the erosion control in some part of Lagos, in some parts. So we were with the government, but the system has changed totally. And that is why I said the Ecological Fund Office, the Ecological Project Office needs surgical operation. The system has changed totally. That was when state government come up with their own demand that we're having serious problem in this area. We used to have National Committee on Ecological Problem that will sit with comprises of technocrats, scientists and engineers who will look at the BEME, who will look at the engineering design, and they will come up with solution and budgeted the right amount of money, give the job to the right consultant and contractor to do. But now, I don't know what is going on. It's been politicized. They say Ecological Project Office is now in the presidency. Yeah, it used to be in the presidency. It used to be managed by the Special Duty Minister. As at that time, then later, Federal Minister of Environment used to be the chairman of National Committee on Ecological Fund. Now, go to that office now. SGF is the one controlling, the SGF office is the one controlling that Ecological Fund Office. SGF is not a technocrat. He's a politician. We have permanent secretary who happens to be a civil servant. But in the office, they claim to have scientists, they claim to have engineers. How many of them? And that's why things are slowing down. Everybody is saying that, no, this is not the way Ecological Fund Office used to do. So I will advise, if we want to, it's better we quickly change, we change that, quickly change that Ecological Fund Office to a kind of ecological or green bank, whereby that bank will be used to maybe channel green development projects. Things has changed now. Why are we looking for money abroad when we have the money here? And anybody that wants to access it is going to be a sustainable project they are going to fund, and National Assembly will oversee the control of that Ecological Fund Office very well, because it's only fund. They will tell you it doesn't go for appropriation because it's domiciled in the President's office, and so things has to change. So we have to look into the working and operation of that Ecological Fund Office. That's my own advice. But at the same time, the way we talk to government, they listen sometimes. They listen, and the area, we have perfected the area of early warning system. They have a lot of equipment being awarded out, contract being awarded, and this working very well now. We have a lot of jobs. Some job has been done in some area, but they need to do more. So we will be campaigning. We will be telling them, I have worked for Ecological Fund Office, and I know things has changed there, because I know this government, in fact, the present president knows me as an environmental, he called me consultant, he called me as an environmental consultant. He was the one that introduced me to the federal level when I was with him in Lagos. So I've done a lot of job, and I speak to the authority, and I know the authority is there. They listen to our advice, but I think something there is I don't know what is going on currently. That's what I would say.
Mr. Idowu, you said something. You said when you talk to the government, they listen sometimes, but we are hoping that they get to listen all times. That's you know, to make sure that people do not suffer from disasters like this. But I want to pick on something that I started earlier with. I spoke about the fact that we keep talking about it over and over again, and you mentioned that year in, year out, we come on TV and we talk about the same thing. What measure would you say has been taken in terms of the fact that we see that most of our drainages are blocked? And why are these drainages blocked? Individuals, you know, throwing dirty. In that aspect, what do you think the government is doing? Is there enough education for that? Because if you look at it, that's one of the major reasons why we have our drainages blocked. In Lekki, You see a lot of dirty that has been thrown, and when the rain falls, you even see the dirty coming out. So what is that one thing that has been done? Since we have identified the problem, that this is a big problem, this is one of the reasons, what is that one thing that has been done, as opposed to we coming on TV every day and speaking about it?
We all have responsibility to play in this aspect of what the question you just asked. My own role as a citizen is to make sure I adhere to building code. 2, I don't build my house on a drainage channel. I did not discharge my waste on the drainage channel during rainy season. I patronize people that collect waste, and government to put the right infrastructure in place to check excess water control. I give you an example of how to manage flash flood water. In China, in Hong Kong, there is this pump, a high capacity rate pump that you put in a flooded area. It can pump water at a high rate, maybe 10,000 cubic meter an hour. It can pump water at 5,000 cubic meter an hour. It will remove water from the flooded area to a high ground area, and that will move. The flood will recede immediately, at least as an emergency measure. NEMA should have such a pump and distribute it to almost all the 36 state emergency agencies. Even state governments should buy some too. I think there's something like that in Ilubiri, Lagos State. I think Lagos State has maybe procured such pump. So if the other state government can do same thing, flooded area could easily maybe be removed before the wreak. The excess water could be removed before the wreak havoc. That's 1. 2, enlightenment and education. At least we have gotten that right. This is one of the things we are saying now. We are enlightening the populace. But where I'm going is the relief package for those affected. Look at what the First Lady has just done. Donating 1 billion naira from a pet project to the Makwa. Why other people? Where are the corporate body? What are they doing? People need this assistance. They need us right now to be supported so that they can get back to system again. So another area that we can do to relieve those people that lost their property, maybe we can't bring back those that lost their life, but those that are alive, we need to bring them back to the system. So these are part of the measure. Then governments should maybe give NEMA to quickly go outside there and go to relief, what do you call, camp, transit camp that will be created, and give people so-called, give them what's it called, handout for them to be able to survive again and come back to their daily life. So that's my own advice. But in a way, for us, maybe we should let them know that fighting war, victim from war and victim from flood, almost the same. Flood affects farmland. Flood affects education, affects daily activities, rail line, infrastructure, and take life. The same thing, war. In fact, during flooding, I'm not sure bandits will be able to come out and fight war. Maybe that would be my last word advice to government on this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think so.
We can definitely
They should know that the way they prosecute war, the amount of money they spend in prosecuting Boko Haram war, they should do the same thing now.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Because the number of casualties is hand in hand, is almost the same thing.
I definitely love your passion about this. We can go on and on and on talking about this. I love your passion. We can see that you eat, sleep, and drink environment, and we definitely love that. Thank you so much, Mr. Idowu Salawu, for joining us. Thank you so much. God bless you. But you know, I love the fact that he said he is a law-abiding citizen. I was going to ask him, what about the ones that are not law-abiding? Because we see it all the time, you know, and I speak about the fact that our drainages are in serious problem, and this is because we are the reasons.
Yes. You know, to throw in bottles and so on and forth. You know, if you go around some parts of Lagos, I don't want to say all parts of Lagos, you know, you see the drainages are blocked with either sand or plastics of all sorts.
Lots of plastics,
all sorts. And so we ourselves need to also be cultured on how to dispose waste appropriately. You see people put waste dignifiably on the driveways. I mean, they bring it from their homes. For instance, when coming down from a coal bridge, I think yesterday morning when I was coming to the office, coming down from a coal bridge, I mean, this guy with a load of debris on his head, majestically walked to the middle of the road and dropped it right there. So who does he expect to take it? You know, so we need to train ourselves also on how to handle this, because we contribute to the blockage of the drainage systems, which then escalate to
but Ibrahim, if you ask me, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of education. I think most people do not even understand the fact that they are the reasons why we see the flood. And I think that we need to identify that first before we can even push further.
You know, talking about education, there is this civic education that everyone, learns growing up. And even without that, within the homes, talking about parenting, there is this training that some parents actually give to the children. No, don't do this, don't do that. These are just natural things. But now that we have, I don't want to go there. But the thing there is, I love what you said concerning funding and how much we devote to fighting floods. It should be as huge as we also fight insecurity, because the casualties, the devastation is as though it's a war zone. And that's one thing that we need to do. When you talked about ecological fund, which is, saying ecological project and all of that, we should do more. And then follow through how much we have voted for this cause.
I know he said something about the fact that we talk about it all the time. I think it's high time that actions begin to be taken, and let us see these actions that will be taken. Well, amazing conversation on that, but I'm just hoping that the government listens to as well. Still ahead on TVC Breakfast, fractions clash in APC Delta North over endorsements, sparking heated political debates. Stay with us for more on this conversation.